All right, we are recording.
5 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I want to call the meeting of the July 20th Munster Parks and Rec to order. First item is public input. Anybody out there from the public wish to say anything?
I do, Mr. President, can I give you one? I received one email ahead of time before we go to the public. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I received an email today that was sent to public inputs for today's meeting from Lily Cockrum at 1215 Oriole Drive in Munster with certain allegations against recreation staff based upon advice from our town attorney. I will not read the full letter into record as staff names were mentioned, but do want to verbally recognize it and record in the minutes that the letter was received. And I did give you copies distributed to the board regarding her comments about personnel. Should the board decide further to discuss the claims, an executive session would have to be scheduled in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public
Yes.
wish to say anything? Yeah, it'd be easier if you go up there. You'd start with your name and,
Sure. Name and address.
I am Matt Kimmel. I am the owner and managing partner of Centennial Village LLC. And I'm here to make a couple comments regarding Clay Hole Lake, which I believe is an undiscovered significant amenity to the town and to Centennial Park. As I think about the opportunity that we uniquely have with Clay Hole Lake, first and foremost, I hope that at some point you could change the name to something maybe more appropriate. But in any event, I think we have a one-time unique opportunity with Clay Hole. And that is, as Centennial continues to be developed, we have the opportunity to jointly reshape and kind of imagine what Clay Hole Lake could be. And I have put forth, and I've shared with Mark and others, Dustin, what I would say is a long-term conceptual comprehensive plan, some ideas through an ideation session that I held about what that could be. And as when you look at the lake itself, it really is an unknown to many residents of Munster. I'm often amazed how many people don't know that 30 or 40 acre lake is there. But I believe it has an opportunity to be shaped to create a mission that's unique and different and additive to Centennial Park. And the mission would be, and this is mine, this is just my thinking, to enhance the power of plants, inspire and elevate the enrichment of life. Very consistent with the Chicago Botanical Garden. I would highly recommend, if you get a moment, to do a field trip up the Chicago Botanical Garden. It was once a Clay Hole Lake. It is absolutely a stunning resource for the entire Cook County and metropolitan Chicago area with significant corporate sponsorships. And so it really does enrich the life. It really does create a living museum that we could create at Clay Hole Lake. And really the objectives, I think, could be centered around family fun, togetherness, education, appreciation, natural beauty, the ecosystem sustainability by reshaping and really reimagining what that lake could be. Now, we only have one opportunity, and that's once Centennial Village is developed, because we have excess in soil, that we could actually do this jointly, where I could actually reshape the lake jointly with the Park District into what I would like to see, 4 islands and 1 peninsula, all connected with walkways throughout the entire lake area. Leveraging the fact that we still have to maintain the stormwater capacity of the lake. We could increase the shoreline, which is the vegetation area of the lake. We could create a numerous undulations and topography around and through the lake with walking paths, and leverage the shallow areas of the lake. I've got to know the lake very well because I reshaped the western edge as part of my development plan, and it looks very nice. And so I know the lake, what's high in certain areas, what's low, leverage those elevations and topography within the lake to actually shape them into islands and peninsulas. So I do have a sketch that I've put together as what I think would be something for the board to consider. And I will, if it's okay to approach the board, I brought a couple copies just for your use, so we can share this.
I do want to say, we do have a limitation on public input. This was not an agenda matter. I'll let you go on a little bit more. But
No, I have-
we're
I have
certainly
finished.
not going to make a decision on it.
No, I just wanted to give my thoughts about this unique opportunity. If you wait a few years, I won't have, the buildings will be built and we won't have the activity to work together jointly to create something special. So it's
Okay,
into my comments.
thank you. Thanks a lot.
If I may, Mark, do you have these items? that you
I don't think I've
distributed
seen
to us?
that one before. Matt, have you sent me what you just handed out?
Yes, I said.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll make
Thank
sure you guys leave me that. I'll make sure to email it out to you so you have it on your computer and so forth.
That would be great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else from the public wish to say anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If not, we'll close the public input portion of the meeting and move on to administrative matters. First item are the minutes from last board meeting, which was actually the 15th of June. Anybody? I looked at them, they look okay to me.
Yeah.
I will motion to approve.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
I'm sorry, the motion.
Okay.
We kept it easy on the side of the way.
Okay, vouchers, two of them. Any questions?
No, they're good.
I got, there's like $10,000 for trash receptacles. I never saw something like that.
The receptacles is one we had to buy, those new brown totes that are in the parks now. So we
Okay.
got rid of that. That was the transition of, we were gonna be left high and dry with no way to empty our garbage trash, so we had to get that. Actually, for how many we purchased, that it was actually a really good price. There's also some home and disposal line items in there for liners. We're trying to line them at the parks where they're heavily used, Centennial being one community as well. And then also during special events, just so they don't attract the bees and the other,
That's just a one-time purchase. right?
The bags, the cans, yes, the
Yeah.
liners will have to be
Yeah,
from time to
right.
time, but it was a one-time purchase for all, and it was, off the top of my head, I want to say it was close to 200 of those brown containers. I mean, we have them along all our bike trails.
The brown.
They're brown, just like you have at your home, but they're smaller. They're only 65 gallons. The ones at your houses are 95, 96 gallons. So
And the
they're,
ones that we had previously were not.
they were
usable.
55 gallons, but they were the old, like traditionally like a Pepsi plastic drum. And they were various colors, blue, white, black. So those have been now taken out of commission and we're no longer using those. These also, the new ones also have a lid on them, so it helps keep, rainwater out of them, keeps it a little bit less smelly. But it also has the, just like your home garbage where an arm can come, pick it, lift it,
Right.
and dump it
Right.
versus, the old ones, literally, the truck grabber that we had, we were getting rid of that truck from Public Works. And this is kind of where got dropped, the ball was not thought of on the park side of trash removal for us, unfortunately. This was kind of a stuff where, although it did beautify the garbage cans, we've had complaints even in the short period of time that I was here. People don't like the way that those old plastic barrels looked. Many times when they were empty, they'd start blowing across and wind up another.
The big green and yellow ones, or the green?
No, the blue, like the barrels.
Yeah.
Blue barrels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those,
I was
that's
thinking
what.
of the big
rodeo
green ones.
barrel, yeah.
The big green ones are still around mainly at community. We have some, and then we have some extra ones still in Centennial. We pulled them out for July 3rd. as
I was thinking of the
extra.
big green ones, that's why I was confused.
Yes.
Understood, thank you.
Sure.
The elevator maintenance that was done in the elevator at Centennial, yeah. Is that a yearly thing or was there something wrong?
That's typically an annual, to get the permit.
Certification.
The certification, yeah, it's typically an annual trip out there.
And then again, I see Dave's is on here. Have we ever had, thrown it out to anybody else aside from Dave's to do trimming work and tree work in this town?
We didn't, for us, earlier this year, the Public Works Department did put it out for bid, and that was what the council awarded to Dave's Tree Service. So that's why we chose on this most recent work, tree work, to just go with their pricing that they already had defined for us. It was also a couple other tree companies that I had contacted. I don't think they were going to be able to get to it. We needed somebody who out there who had the big rig stuff, because this was trees on the that north end of the Babe Ruth field, between the Babe Ruth field and the condominiums there. There was some dead wood really high up there. And then we also, since they were there, I had a branch starting to come out in front of one of the light towers, so I had to take that one out as well.
And then lastly, the ball field renovations. What fields are those for?
That was all of the Little League and softball fields between the sports fields work that they did.
Okay. That's all I have. Nobody else? So we need a motion on the vouchers.
I'll approve.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Mark, your report.
Yes, we have our board report. This is going to be a little bit of time here, so let me run through this as quick as I can for you. Our 2021 bond issue, the town is planning to do another GO bond in 2021. So any park project would be part of that. That seemed to work well this past year, and we were able to use the funds that were in that for the park projects that we had defined. So we will be putting in some capital improvements list. I've asked staff to start to assemble those things to make sure that we have our top needs within that bond issue for this coming year. So some of those are the hard court repair and replacement of cobblestones. For some of you guys who've been here a while, I know that that's some heartburn, but we have to get in there and do those. Coming up on replacement utility vehicle out of community park, system-wide landscaping improvements in general is always has to happen. The pool heater replacement, we're still operating on the original pool heater there. It's failed on us a few times this year, and that's going to be a large expense for us. The current 5-year plan will expire at the end of next year. So next year, as would be the year to start working on the next 5 years. So hiring a consultant for assisting with that type of work would be out there as well. And then, of course, just the continued equipment replacement that we have on schedule, some asphalt paving replacement in certain places, and then just generally speaking, other capital improvements that staff brings to our attention here that is in need. 2022 budget worksheets was received. Those have to be submitted by the 28th to the clerk's office, so I'll be working on those. We were really one of the areas I was mentioning to a few people earlier that the part-time wage ranges is an area that we definitely have to increase to be competitive. Right across the state line, as minimum wages have gone up, we're losing a lot of employees. The golf course, which isn't us, but they've had a challenge filling all their positions. Our Kevin never did have a full house this year of staff. And then some of our other recreation side of things has been very challenging. So that's something that we wanted to make sure to include moving forward. That will require some action on your behalf in a wage rate chart, and then also putting that into our budget for next year as well. The 2021 budget, still waiting to receive monies from the American Recovery Plan Act here in town. We had hoped that was going to be coming in earlier, but there's definitely a ripple effect from the pandemic. And hopefully once the town does receive those funds, the town council will make an additional appropriation to increase our budget back to kind of where it was, what we had planned for, hoping on moving into this year. So just kind of it's making me and Janice, who makes the our finances in our department, very nervous as we're already halfway through the year this year and aren't seeing any additional funds coming in that way. Centennial Park use, been getting a lot of calls there and emails from the town, from various residents and so forth, wanting us to charge non-Munster cars. Just wanted to share that with you. I know the general thought has been that from the public, that when they've spoken to me, is that it's unfair for Munster residents to be the only ones paying for the maintenance of the park via taxes, whereas non-residents, people can come in there, Dyer, Sherrville, Lansing, Hammond, whatever, can come in and basically get the benefit of using the park on a day-to-day basis without paying anything to use the particular park. So that's just something I know that you've discussed previously, but I know that you wanted to, not make any rash decisions in the last year, and just wanted to bring it to your attention as those comments have been coming in to me and share them for you. It is something that if it is any kind of an idea that you would want to consider, I know the company that we had talked to earlier that does it up at Whiting would be happy to come and make a presentation. If you'd like to see that at a future meeting, I can make those arrangements if that's something you'd like to see.
Well, what if we just expand the parking lot?
Expanding the parking lot, I think, is
Because
very
parking is the
challenging.
big problem.
I'm not sure where you take expanded parking to be honest. I think that a lot of the land that's out there isn't ours. I mean, you pretty much the only green space that it would be available to expand it into would be the area east of the playground. I think that, and that's a pretty minimal green space area, but definitely that's something that, if not, obviously that'll come up in our next 5-year plan as well, if we don't do anything sooner than
Is
that.
there anything on the west side of the hill, between the hill and Calumet, that you would come in, park at an angle there? And someone who just wants to walk doesn't really come in all the way into the park. They have some angle parking along Calumet. You come into our, normally how you come in by Centennial, the building. You turn immediately right and have some angle parking near the hill. And that you could park there at an angle. And
Are you talking about the south side of the park?
it would be on the west side of the park, right where the stairs is.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
okay, yeah.
So just a straight line there, that maybe at an angle where it's, and somebody doesn't have to come all the way in. If there's a wedding or anything, they could park there and they could do their walking wherever. And so many, one row maybe of some parking, I don't know, throwing it out there. Because obviously there's some shortage of parking.
There's usually parking over on the south lot, almost all, I drive past there 2 times a day. And every couple days we'll drive through there. I think the more popular parking spot obviously is the north side.
Right.
Okay, so my comment, I appreciate Mr. Kimmel's Clay Hole Lake, but the more amenities you add, the more
Right.
people we're going to get, the more traffic we're going to get. So I think he has a great idea. I do. I always love that kind of this stuff. It's very,
Is an
very.
ulterior motive as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
You mean
Very
get rid of
ulterior.
the material?
Oh,
Yes, I know, but it may work.
Yeah, but the golf course drains the lake, so, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of issues.
but you're telling me
But I
there's
think,
enough
but I
parking.
think it's an oversimplification to say our taxes pay for the parks. It's oversimplification. And to put that in here, Mark, is, I think, a little disingenuous to say that like that.
He's saying that's what people in town think.
That's what people are reporting to me. That's
Right,
what-
I understand that, but again, it's an oversimplification of the way that those things are paid for. I understand the maintenance, but the park in general. So
Well, where does it come from? Indiana, it's Indiana money. I mean, and Munster money.
what it was paid for, it's Indiana, I'm sure. I mean, Dyer, people are complaining about Dyer and Island and now and Sherwood.
I think
Is that what you're saying?
the issue a lot of times over there at that park is, no matter what you're gonna do, if you're gonna hit golf balls, play golf, you're gonna go eat something, or walk, or whatever, you're all coming to that parking facility. So if, let's say you wanna walk and you have another location, because there's a lot of walkers, like you go out there now, that place tonight is probably loaded with people.
Yeah.
And if you have something that when you just come in along, it's not beautiful and all
I
that stuff.
think it's a great idea.
Just a single lane of some angled parking.
Yeah.
That you can then walk wherever you want, and you really never take your car into the park too far.
And with paid parking, what happens is they go and they park over at Centennial Village. And then we have paid parking there. I don't know, if I go to the Harvest Room, I really don't want to pay for it.
But I'm not talking about
I mean-
paid parking, I'm just talking additional parking options.
Well, that's why he said he could bring somebody in for it. So that's what I thought, that was the direction he was wanting to go.
Well, I'm just offering that as if there's any inclination where you want to learn more about it, where you could get it, it wouldn't cost us anything. They'd come in and make a presentation and. yeah.
What's the traffic
Doesn't make
this
any
year?
sense.
We talked about this last year. What's the traffic this year compared to last year? I know COVID, Illinois was shut down.
It's down, it's
It's
down,
down.
it's down. Yeah,
Okay, so is that,
it's, the police reports
I
are
don't
down,
know.
everything is down.
No, I think from that perspective, it's there that, like I said, the reason that I'm bringing it up is I'm getting calls of people and emails and calls where people are reaching out to us who are residents who are saying, hey, my taxes pay for the town. The park is owned by the town. And I think others who come there who don't pay taxes to the town should pay for something.
but are they not finding parking?
Oh, no, I think they're finding parking most of the time. So a few people have made the comment. I know at the last meeting, we had a gentleman say that there's no parking available.
Last summer, there were far more problems with parking.
Right,
Where
right.
Everybody
last summer,
sucks it up.
That was,
Yeah, absolutely, lots.
Yeah.
But
So-
I have not received a
short of
single
putting a
complaint.
fence around it and then having a key card to go in to save it with Munster, I mean,
Basketball?
I was going to. So.
yeah, I
question.
mean, I don't know how
Let's go
to
to basketball.
do that.
So you're saying the hard surface, I'm gonna switch, sorry.
Yeah.
We can talk about sometime if you want. I don't know if we're good or.
So we're going to basketball hoops.
The hard surfaces at council, what is that? Is that the?
The tennis courts,
Tennis courts
the tennis
and
courts have been
basketball?
really bad, and then the basketball, volleyball court probably all need. to
That's
go.
behind the fire station.
Correct.
Okay.
The tennis courts are at the east end of the park.
Right,
and then
right.
The basketball.
I just want to make sure, I
volleyball-
wanted to make sure, I just passed that.
Yeah.
There was a contractor that did ADA accessible paths evidently, right?
At
Are
Frank
they,
Hammond.
yeah, they're gonna complete that or?
They have done their work, the restoration will be up to us.
Oh,
So
we
Kevin,
gotta do that.
We're doing the restoration. So Kevin will be, the crews will be out there doing the restoration work, and then they'll be getting the extra dirt out of it.
And then has the council said what they're gonna do with the ARA funds? Are they going to allow
I
for the
haven't-
parks? Or is this just a wish list on us?
I think that is the comment that I've received from Wendy, is that I think that that's their general intention, but I don't think that anything has specifically been on the record. We have.
When will that
here,
be decided?
maybe. I think once they are received, at that point, that's when they would decide that.
Funds in some communities have been received
Right.
in June.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
So I was just assuming that it would probably be best to put that towards capital costs as opposed to putting it as a normal budget, because you're not gonna get that year over year.
Right.
So if you take your capital costs and put that in there,
Right.
you can knock out a lot of your capital projects, but
Right.
that's all. I'm done.
Do they know the
People,
figure?
how about we
they're-
keep moving along?
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
don't know, because we got a lot of there.
Yeah.
I wanted to extend Dave's meeting.
Well, that's not a problem.
It's not gonna be a problem today.
It sucks, right?
They played 7-10.
Basketball hoops, we have a basketball court at Beach Park as well as Briar Creek Park that both have one hoop up only. There are 2 poles though for full court layout at both of those places. So from my understanding from the people who've been here a little bit longer than I have, the second hoop was taken down years ago to various complaints. And just looking for direction if we want to, what we want to do there as far as any type of permanent decision to either remove the pole, put a second hoop back up, leave the site as is, or maybe we do something like we have at Twin Creeks where we have 2 half courts, but the poles are in the middle, kind of back to back with each other. So you.
That actually works really well,
And I think at Twin Creeks, it does work.
where it's
Seems to
just
work.
kind of a man-on-man thing where kids are practicing. Or 3 guys.
So this, and this could also be determined
The
in
half
the,
court, yeah,
Yeah, half-court cobblestone and.
yeah, where you're not getting the big
I think there's
groups.
half court everywhere.
Playing all out.
Yeah, more than most folks too.
All Beach is where it all started.
Right.
the full court is here at Grove and also at Circle Park, we have full court. The rest are all half court facilities currently that we have.
So just so I'm clear, you want direction on whether to remove the one at Beach Park? Is that-
Beach and Briar Creek both have one pole with one hoop up. The other one has just a pole at the other end, nothing on the pole. So people have reached out and said, hey, when are you putting the other hoop back up? So before we did that, because that was something that predated me, I wanted to bring it to your attention and ask for your direction. Obviously, we can delay this a little bit and put it into our our processing plan for a 5-year plan and get input from the community, but I mean, obviously, that's gonna be a year away.
We took the hoop down at Beach because it was a major problem for the people that live around Beach Park because of all the congregation and the language and the stuff going on. So that's why we did that.
That's
So
what
I don't see a reason to recreate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not July 20th. I'm good for the summer.
All right, I'm gonna move on. The pool.
Okay.
Generally speaking, it's definitely been a challenging pool season. I think as you're all aware, the facility's really become a regional destination due to lack of other available pools in our area. That probably wasn't the intent when it was constructed, in my opinion. Hot days, the 85-degree days, 85 degrees plus like today are consistently the most challenging due to higher attendance and shorter temperament from patrons. We've implemented some of the changes we previously talked about with some success. Police departments try to be at the pool more often, not only when they're called. So that has also been helpful to have their bike patrol out, and he will literally ride his bike through the pool and on the pool deck and be out there at times. So that their presence has definitely helped. The biggest struggle is definitely still trying to get people to wear the proper swim attire, even with different signage out there. We've tried days putting people out in front and said they've had it. It just for whatever reason, they get into the pool and don't have it on. Then we're pulling them out and definitely, you know, having, and we've implemented the idea about giving the makeup passes that Mike had suggested at the last meeting. And that has been, at least it's been a nice little way to appease people. However, they're probably getting the benefit of coming in and they may be in there for hours before it's noticed, and then they're leaving and they're basically getting the second day for free type of thing. So, but it's from that perspective. I'm sorry.
Better than a fight.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. But the
I'm
pool
not
is.
so sure about that if they're gonna come back again dressed the same way. I mean, I'm okay with just kicking them out and saying, sorry, you didn't follow the rules.
Don't come back.
Yeah.
And it's a challenging one, because it's just, you know, you have a very young staff, as you typically do in a park setting, in a pool setting especially. Your lifeguards are, you know, if you have any of them that are 18, that's a blessing. I mean, most of the time, they're 16, 17 years old. So, and your pool staff as a whole is very young, even the management staff. So that's a definite challenge. But the pool is definitely absorbing a lot of time from us in the office. We all try to get out there and assist in any way, but just trying to get through this current season, and hopefully we can press the reset button a little bit in the off season and make some different suggestions to you that we can consider for future pool seasons out there. Pool saves, the amount of saves is also unprecedented this year. The weekend of July 2nd through the 5th, and keep in mind, we were closed on the 4th. We had as many saves that weekend as we did all of last year. And it's amazing that a child will be saved and go back on the same slide that they were just saved from. And the parents are like, well, that's what you're here for. It's really a difficult, challenging position that we've been put into. We've considered internally increasing the height requirement on how tall you have to be to go down the slide, or mandating, you know, that a kid, you know, if they seem small, that they at least go do some type of a swim test with a lifeguard to prove that they can tread water or swim before they go down the slide. But generally the response from parents is, well, that's why lifeguards are here. They're here to save us. So. Pool heater, I mentioned earlier, it's repaired. It's been repaired after a few failures out there. We're planning to look at a full replacement cost next year. We're probably looking, that's probably going to be $40,000+ as a full replacement there. So you can see why that would be in the capital bond issue type project. Pool rules, the rules that were approved in June definitely helped a little bit with our private pool. Well, it helped slightly with our private party rentals. We're going to get to that in a little while as well. We can charge for police security. That does help, I think, when we can get it. But on the police side of things, they're still a little nervous about having 1,000 people there and only 3 police officers there, if that was to be the case. So I also thought on my mistake that I thought not allowing tickets to be sold at the door would eliminate a lot of our adult parties and by promoters, but they're simply just selling them in advance on Eventbrite is the common website that they're selling them on.
Is this the first year that's happening, or?
We had one and a smaller version last year out of the group that held it this year, but last year was like 100 people only. But this year they seemingly we've had 4 of them.
Restrictions last year too.
We just can't allow for profit.
Right.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, they advertise it as, they call it wet dreams. Okay, now, I mean, this is insanity.
Where did you see this at?
What did you look at?
Did I miss something?
What are you Google it.
If you do some digging on Eventbrite, you will find that. Well, most of those have been deleted. That one was actually canceled. I actually canceled that one because of some other reasons, but you're right, Dave,
Staff.
yes.
Yeah, this was going on, you know.
Is that happening elsewhere?
Well, there's no access.
There are some rentals at Deep River
Yeah.
Water Park. One of our rentals had Deep River Water Park on July 10th and it got rained out and they're making it up this coming weekend. They're supposed to be there this coming Saturday and they're supposed to have one at our place Sunday. So, with 1,000 people. So that's, you know, it's amazing what people are paying and renting, but,
No.
Go ahead, tell them what they pay.
they are charging anywhere from $10 to $60 to come into these parties. And it's just, you know, people are paying it.
Yeah.
1,000 people?
Yeah,
It's so,
I'm in the wrong business.
yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Wow, well, I'll find a way.
I mean, where does that fall on the liability question?
I think it's the same as anything else, but it's definitely, I think that these are just some that I wanted to bring your attention. We're gonna get to that a little bit more, I think, in a little while here. Item D on the
That's the
agenda.
last item.
So, but, you know, overall, I just wanted to make sure and make you guys be aware that this is the case. This, you know, we're still having these challenging times and it's something that we wanted to make sure that you're aware of and hopefully we can set up good rules tonight and if not tonight, for sure going into next year though.
Oh, it's gonna be tonight.
The last item.
All right, I'm almost halfway through here.
Okay.
Grape Escape, we had to cancel this event. I know that's an event a lot of people look forward to. The response from wineries was underwhelming this year. Most are still reeling from the impact of the pandemic. Most are going through challenges with finances, staff, and even product production.
Actually, that has to do with the date, because Valpo has a big wine festival.
Well, another one is, we also met with the state of Indiana Excise Police, who told us we've been doing it wrong forever. And so something had to change. And so we are going to, the fact that you could come in and pay $7 admission and have free unlimited wine was not a win-win for them. You cannot sell alcohol in the park and let anyone carry it out, whether it's bottled up or open, period. That's the liquor license that we have on our grounds. Same reason, just like in a banquet hall, that even though you may be paid for a bottle of wine on every table, you can't take the extra home with you.
So you don't have a packaged liquor.
Yes, yes.
Can
So
you buy it and order it and have it delivered?
they would have to deliver it and make arrangements off park property to deliver it. So we're going to look into, we've started some conversations about this, but it's definitely a challenge where we're going to have to try to come up with a different solution. We're probably gonna have to rebrand it, rename it, because if we call it Grapescape, people are gonna have the set in mind how it has been in the past, and it's not gonna be at that level to pay $7 admission and go in there, and try all kinds of wines. That's not gonna happen.
And change the date.
Yes, so, we did put in for a South Shore Convention Visitors Authority Jumpstart Grant for $20,000 to help with a lot of our fall events this year with our budget cuts. Hopefully that'll come through. I believe that was at the council meeting last night. They were gonna be potentially sharing that news if we received that or not.
And we got 20,000 yesterday.
20,000, great, thank you, Ken. Dog park connectivity, we are having some challenges out there as trees have grown. Our wireless signals are no longer working real well. We need direct site eye lines between antennas, and so we are having Midwestern Electric come out there to move our antennas that are each gate to give us better sight lines to the building, and hopefully that will solve our problems. But in case you've heard any issues with dog park members, we have definitely had some complaints and people saying my key card's not letting me in there. So we are working on that. Midwest Electric hopefully will be out this week to start the work on moving those antennae. Frank H. Hammond, we mentioned about the accessibility improvements. The blacktop got done that you approved earlier this year. We'll be doing the restoration work, but we made all the accessibility to the pickleball, volleyball, tennis courts, playground, shelter, work the fitness area, and the track all have accessible routes now that meet ADA there. We are still waiting on the fence repair to the tennis courts to give us a wider gate opening, because otherwise the current gate opening is not reasonably accessible with there yet. Our summer recreation intern is here today. She's going to be presenting a little while, but she's been a great addition to our team. Planning for the fall recreation guides underway. Tons of programs, camps, events, activities are running. 16 June rentals have been scheduled for the Community Park Social Center, 12 shelter rentals. as well as some Munster pool parties, 2 birthday parties, 7 private parties, and 5 group rentals are all reserved. The specifically for the Munster Community Pool, from the recreation side of the report, the month of July, they had 33 rescue reports filled out. We had 19 rescues all of last year, just as an FYI. Police were called 3 times in July so far. Average attendance this month is 732 people. Definitely giving a lot of those pool passes to help solve the problems with the proper swim attire there. On the maintenance side of things, about 20 dead trees were removed in the last month and filled the holes and seeded those. About half of the old, we started cutting up a lot of the old barrel trash cans that unfortunately you can't recycle those, so those are getting disposed of slowly. Weeds were sprayed in all the playgrounds ahead of mulch. This last week, we had mulch come into every single playground in town, something you had approved earlier this year. If you haven't seen it, take a good close look at a playground when you drive by. You'll see it's kind of filled to the rim. It's very soft and spongy the way the mulch is supposed to be under there as a fall zone area for play. Drinking fountains at Community Park on the press box were turned back on. We're working when we moved into the last stage of this blue phase of COVID ratings. We started turning on our final things again. So our drinking fountains, we're doing them in the higher traffic areas first and trying to get through to everyone. Definitely because they've been off for almost 2 years now. We've had some challenges, lots of repairs going into that work as well. Circuit boards and valve kits on the pool showers, another area that we turned on. We started the year without showers being open like we did last year at the pool. When we moved into that last phase, we started turning them back on now. And again, after some repairs, but they are all up back and running now. So some of the members patrons there definitely wanted to have them available to them. So that's good that they're back up and running. The pool lift pump, which pumps out groundwater and rainwater from the pump house, failed unfortunately on a weekend not too long ago. It had to be replaced. The Monon Trail fountain has been an issue all summer. It's been off more than it's been on, and we're dealing with underground leaks over there. So we're trying to hopefully find the check off different repairs before we have to go out there and start ripping up ground, including the pavement or bricks around the fountain, if at all possible. The out at Centennial Park, we've been working with Rask Fire Safety and AT&T to get the fire alarm repaired, waiting for AT&T to come out to the Centennial Park Clubhouse. This was something previously canceled. This is when, if there's a fire in the building, it gets reported via those systems. That has been off for a few years. I don't know, somewhere in there, my predecessor canceled some contracts, and I guess we're trying to get these all back up and running and get that building back online for us for those types of reporting. Set up and tear down for the July 3rd fireworks show. That pretty much went well, we think, although it wasn't as well as attended inside the park in the past years, but definitely was a big event for everybody. We had an irrigation leak out at Centennial that we fixed. And then, of course, just as they continue a daily trash litter pickup, bathroom cleaning, social center setup, the pool maintenance, the gas monitoring, all the other things that Kevin's crews deal with that also just pop up as well that they need to deal with. So Centennial Park is on the golf side of things, definitely trending well above expectations this year. Success of the facility is definitely tied to the strong demand on the banquet side of operations as well as golf, but with the eliminations of restrictions on banquets, definitely has helped the food and beverage side flourish this year. Continuing with sales and banquets, Pepsi negotiations is something interesting in town. They're actually using the View right now, renting it out on a day-to-day basis. That's where they're doing their negotiations. So we have since closed down the restaurant. They're out there 7 days a week potentially. So hopefully that'll get us to a solution. It actually also kind of helped because Chef Matt told me, kind of asked them for a favor, and we were able to get a Pepsi delivery to Community Park just today because the Little League state tournament is there this week, and he wanted to make sure he's fully stocked. So having that there, he was able to ask someone there, and they were able to get a delivery to us.
What do they drink during negotiations?
I told him we should serve them Coke, but I didn't think
That may get it moving a little bit.
Course maintenance, the last month of June was pretty tough. I mean, we went from a 3-week drought to getting like 12.5 inches of rain in about a 4-day period there. So I know we had 4.5 inches of rain in one day. Dan had told me down there. So definitely had some challenging times out at the golf course. Yeah. There was a new irrigation box installed on hole 2 that was being that hole was being manually watered before that got installed. Definitely the golf course is looking better after all the rain, though. It's definitely green back up again. So other than that, unless you have any questions I can answer, we can.
Plano Lake's probably full too.
I
No,
think it's still.
no, they're draining it like crazy.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna be 2 weeks.
It went up and then went,
Up and down.
every day it doesn't rain.
Wait till this week. I agree.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. We have a
Presentation.
We have a
from our intern.
Yay.
Presentation. Mara DiCarlo, our intern, will come on up here to the podium and I'll let her take it over from there.
Hello. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mara DiCarlo, and I had the opportunity of being this summer's recreational intern. So I had the opportunity to work on so many different events this summer, and I appreciate all the time that I got to spend learning how to do big events and such, and then also some smaller ones. But I want to focus on the big events because those are the ones that are going to take up the most time and are really important here. So some of the bigger events that I had the opportunity to work on was summer camp, pint-sized camps, teenager bingo, the American English concert, and then the community markets. And I would like to mention at the beginning that on almost every slide in this presentation, I addressed that I took pictures, but that was one of the big things that I did was I took a lot of pictures at most of the events that I attended. So let's get started. So the first event that I'm going to be talking about is summer camp. I had the opportunity to book the Monday treat for 3 weeks of camp. And for the first 2, I thought it'd be fun to stick with ice cream because we all know kids love ice cream. But the last one, I decided to switch it up a little bit. We had somebody who was very excited to work with us on other events. And I thought, why not call her back and have her bring treats for the camp kids? So this past Monday, we had Cute as a Cupcake bring our cupcakes to the kids. And that was really exciting. One of the bigger things that I did with the summer camp was transporting the swim lessons children from the pool back to Frank Hammond. There was a group of them who were taking swim lessons through summer camp, and I was known as the person who drove the camp kids from all the rest of the campers. But that was really exciting because I got to learn how to drive the town van, which at first was very scary, but we've gotten better at that since then. And then the smaller things that I did with summer camp was I did a lot of delivering paperwork between Jill and the counselors and Jill, and also any activity materials that needed to be used for the day. The next activity that I got the chance to work on, and I would have to say that this one was my favorite because I got to do all the planning for it, and then I also got to attend the events and see how they played out. And so for pint-sized camps, just a little bit of a rundown on what those are. They are camps that are split up between ages like 4 and 6, and then like 6 and 8. And some of them focus on things that you learn, like the alphabet and your colors. And then other ones are like more fun-based. So like the science experiments, and then also the sports camps. So for the pint-sized camps, I had to write the weekly itineraries. And with the itineraries came the instructions and directions for the activities that they did. And then also the extra materials that came with it that I had to make on my own, like flashcards, paper phrases, and such. But then the biggest part of this was gathering the materials. There was a lot that went into pint-sized camps because it does last for 4 weeks. And so I had to go to the boarding house and get sports equipment. And then I also had to go shopping to get things for the science camps that obviously couldn't be reused multiple times. I would have to say that one of the best parts about this internship was the fact that I got to work with people who were many different ages. So whether it be with the children in summer camp and pint-sized camps or our teenagers in bingo, they were all very fun to talk to. The kids were great, but I really enjoyed spending time with the teenagers because they were always up to have a conversation with you. One of them actually ended up being the grandmother of some kids that I grew up dancing with. So it's just always a small world. And with them, I always felt like I was included and I had a reason to be there. So with bingo, I was in charge of finding sponsors, gathering the prizes. I had to make the decorations, which usually consisted of going on Pinterest and looking up cute sticker ideas and then cutting them out and taping them around the social center. I also had to run the event then. And with the event came serving food, which we made up little sponsorship tags for so that everybody knew who was providing the food for them that day. I made the announcements, and then, like I said earlier, I took some pictures. So the next event was kind of smaller, so I'm just kind of gonna touch on this one just a little bit. But for the scavenger hunt in the park, basically all that is kids come and they hang out with their family and they go around the park and they find things that are in the booklet. So I had to make up the booklet and then paste the tickets around the different items on the park. And then whoever finished first got a bigger prize, but everybody was guaranteed a bag of popcorn that we made the day of the event. And then the one that everybody loves, the American English concert. This was probably the event that had the most attendance that I got to work with. And so this was very exciting for me because this was my first opportunity to public speak in front of a group that was larger, because I did make the announcements for this event and I was going around and talking to people, and I did end up going live on Facebook. So that was also something that I got to do that required me to be confident and public speak and such. So some other extra things that I did with the American English concert was we wrote cute little Beatles songs names on the beach balls and threw them around in the crowd. And then we passed out flyers that had all of our events coming up on them. And then I also worked with other things at Centennial Park. These were a little bit different because I didn't do a lot of preparation with these events. I basically just showed up and I, worked with people. So for the July 3rd fireworks, I helped with the over 21 wristbands to make sure that anybody who was buying alcohol should have been buying alcohol or could buy alcohol. And then I did the movies in the park. This actually happened last night, so I got to make the announcements for that. And then one of our sponsors gave us coupons to pass out for $2 off haircuts because it was Supercuts. And then lastly, the theater shows. Unfortunately, the first event that I was supposed to attend got canceled because it rained on Thursday. But I have another opportunity to attend a different one this Thursday. And at this event, I plan to take pictures and go live again. The community market. I have a lot to say about this one because I worked a lot on the markets. So there were weeks where I would have to work the market, and then there were some weeks where I was just helping with preparation. But when I did work the markets, I was in charge of finding the entertainment in the first place, and sometimes that was decorations like banners and such. But then other times it was companies that would come. So Circus Boy came and he did some weird bike stuff, and then he also did balloon twisting for the kids. And then at the end of the event, I was in charge of paying like the music entertainment and also the market entertainment. I had to help answer questions. That would be questions from our normal vendors. If they had any questions, comments, or concerns about this market or the future market, I addressed those. And then also if anybody who was attending the market had questions about how to become a vendor, we would give out applications. This year, we started a new virtual market with Grounded Earth Farms, and I helped with the pickup on that. And I also followed a checklist at the end to make sure that everything was cleaned up and put back into the van and the electric box was closed. I didn't do a lot with events at the pool, but I did have the opportunity to work with the managers and kind of get a feel of what it was like to be in a position where I got to, enforce rules. And so with the pool, I did a lot with the street clothes in the pool. I had to decorate the A-frame once in a while, and I also had to, go to make sure that everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing. And if any random things came up, like sandbox things or concession things, I went and I helped make signs for that. And then with the managers, I would deliver rental and accident forms from one person to the other, and then I would also help them with money transporting if they needed change. Last but not least, preparation for future events. So obviously my internship does end at the end of July, and there are a lot more activities and events that happen after that. So I have been in contact with multiple people for different events. And so for Pumpkins, Witches, and Hayrides, I'm in the process of contacting entertainment, and we've talked to vendors, and I've also brainstormed some event games. For Bow Wow and Meow, I again contacted vendors, but in this case, I had the opportunity to talk with the Humane Society, and they have confirmed that they will be at our Bow Wow and Meow Pet Fair. And also I talked with the police department about having the canines on the spot for like demos and just training and stuff like that. Trunk or Treat, another event where I was helping with vendors. Fishing derby, I contacted some sponsors and I was lucky enough to get Cabela's to say yes to me, so I'm very excited about that. And then with the Penzi bike ride, I'm in the process of securing a water donation. So that is the end of my presentation, but before I'm done, I would just like to thank Jill and everybody in the Parks office for giving me this opportunity. It's really great to know that I can come back here and work for people in a town that I grew up in. I was born in Munster and I've lived here for most of my life, so having the opportunity to work with these people and plan some of these events was awesome. So thank you. And thank you to you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you.
I mean, we were very lucky to have you. I can tell by the enthusiasm that you did a great job. You're going to do great in your future. So
How much longer do you have it?
best of luck.
Yeah, so I have 10 days left. Well, actually, it's less than that. 'Cause I'm
How
not-
much
oh,
college?
in college. Okay, so I'm going to be a senior this year, so I have 1 year left, and then I'm off into the big girl world. But I'm studying at Valparaiso University. So
Nice.
yes.
I like that.
Are you planning a career in events or any kind of government part?
So
After this
when
meeting, she's got to go in government.
There you go.
So when people would ask me like what I wanted to do with my life, I would tell them that I wanted to go into something that required me to help plan events. If it was by myself or was helping others, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. And so when I saw this opportunity, I was like, duh, like what is Munster Parks and Rec? And like it's all planning events. And so now that I've worked in it, like I'm kind of convinced that I might try to work with it for the rest of my life. So, or yeah, as long as I can. So thank you again.
Very good.
Thank you. Okay, we're not done yet. Tennis court, request by Bishop Knoll.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We know what it's about.
It's already, yeah, we've already reviewed it.
No offense, but
And there hasn't been any
Right.
problems.
Is there anything you want to say?
I'm just sorry.
You're approving as recommended, just to make sure, because there's a waiver of the.
We've been-
This is for the guys, we already did it for the.
We did it for girls.
Yeah, we did
The girls, yeah.
That's good.
Sorry.
Sounds good, thank you.
I've been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, cricket. Cricket.
Okay.
Yeah, Pepsi.
You're talking about Pepsi.
Yeah, how's that?
Update.
It's moving along. Bill's here from SEH to add or answer any questions, but I'll tell you, we're at about 90% review plans for the cricket pitch. There's a few outstanding issues that they're trying to finalize to get the specifications together. And once they do, they'll be putting it out for quotes. No action needed tonight from you. Just wanted to kind of give you an update on it, but the plans are being finalized to go out for quote soon. And the hope is still for fall construction and restoration. Jill did and myself did have a virtual meeting with Shri and Anil, who were the first two guys who brought it to our attention, or the request to the town, initially to the council and then to the park board. And would just answer some specific questions that of some challenges that Jill had run into in the planning stages for it. But with that, I don't know if there's anything else to add, Jill.
Unless you have questions.
I would, just a comment, really, I would like to recommend to hold the two gentlemen, take them up on their offer to do some type of event. So maybe in the spring, intro to cricket or something like that as part of our recreation guide. That's certainly something that we do want to advertise, because if we're spending the money, then we do want to do that, and they offered, so.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
For Mel.
I thought you were
and
gonna say they
Where
offered
you
to teach us
playing
all
now?
how to play. Like,
Oh,
all
yeah,
how to
well, I
play,
don't know
you
about,
Cricket
yeah,
lessons.
I mean, I'm happy to learn, but more importantly, I mean, I think that we should let people know that we're doing that, and they offer to do
And they're
so.
excited to do that. And I think
Yeah.
Jill's excited on the recreation side to take them.
I mean, it's another introduction to a different event. I mean, anything.
I think they're trying to bring people to the
Absolutely.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or like, I don't know, tournaments or whatever.
well, we better charge them for parking. Sorry.
There's one in every crowd. Okay.
Can't let it go.
Here we move on to the last, anybody else? Any
No.
comments or anything? We are now on the last item on the private pool rental.
Yes, Mr. President, at your meeting in June, you approved the private pool party rentals. I put them in your packets, what you approved, and we're coming back with basically a revised updated draft of those rules to make them tighter, because as I mentioned earlier, we're getting those promoter parties, and I don't think, I think at the last meeting you mentioned, yeah, that wasn't something you were interested in, and I thought we were gonna be able to by not taking money at the door, I thought it was gonna solve the problem.
Right.
Not thinking of modern technology, I think they were elated to hear that no money was gonna be transacted at the door, and they just had to show a QR code. Think about a ball game anymore, you go to, you're not getting a physical ticket,
Right.
you're showing your phone. So unfortunately, with that in mind, we had a lot of internal discussions amongst staff and have redrafted them to you with a number of different changes. A couple of these I did want to highlight that I think that in essence, we need to just make all pool parties up to a maximum of 250 people, because anything above and beyond that, they can come here to a meeting like this and present, I think, and ask for that request. We haven't had any rentals above 250 other than promoters in the last 2 years.
Right.
So I think that would be one way to help solve that. Another one is, I had some small changes in there. Food and drink, non-alcoholic is allowed to be brought in for private pool rentals, but must be, I had signed off on, I want to say just approved by the superintendent of recreation at least 1 week prior. If we take it to 250, security really isn't an issue, but number 8, I was just going to change to, if security is deemed necessary for a rental, it'll be charged a rate of $45 an hour, including 30 minutes before and after the reserve time. That was another issue that I was running into with the before and after. Obviously, we want police there before the event starts, and then we want them there after and clearing people out. So we want to make sure to account for those times if it's needed. I got a little bit more detailed on the DJ section about not playing vulgar, indecent, or profane music, and also to stress that it's no louder than the background music during the pool regular operational hours. This should not be Dance Party USA.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, because those, vulgar, whatever other words are in there mean one thing to one person and one to another. So that's something that these people that are having these promoters that are having these things, I mean, they're making money off of them, right?
Right.
And how are they getting their money? They're gonna get it online.
They're getting it online.
Okay, so why don't we just say that we're not gonna allow promoters to operate for profit, wet dream parties at our pool? I mean, I think this is a bad idea. I don't think, birthday parties, graduation parties, night out, things like that, where they're not for a profit, is one thing, and it's good for the community. But a promoter, having a DJ, and having people pay for that, just is
Really no overhead.
It is not a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think we should do it at all.
And I think these updated draft rules do take that into account. I mean, the bottom line, I added number 18, the promoter events are not allowed.
I think we should do it.
But that's one of the things from that perspective. To look at that.
Yeah, we should do it. Yeah,
right.
right. All the board members are gonna do it. Well, I just think, if you tell them,
gonna have a full private party, it should be us.
yeah, but if the DJ can't be louder than background music, I mean, that ain't gonna happen.
It's a soft rocket.
It's just not, it's not gonna happen. It's not.
Well, they do that,
No,
the DJ, when they have it, like, maybe out against Prime, for example, when you're in the pool, it's loud, it's not that bad when you're out.
I don't know.
I think I'm along with you.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I also think that we are approving rules that are there that
I'll tell
can
them
be
where to
enforced.
Yeah, I mean, there are rules that,
If needed.
I don't know, I just think it's.
We may be back to revision 3.
The other thing is, there are a few things in here if you really want to do with it. Like number 7, if security is warranted, the cost will be borne by the renter. Well, if security is warranted as determined by us, not by them or anybody else. So, and the same thing with the next one. If security is deemed necessary by us, by the park department or the superintendent, or however you want to put it, but just saying it deemed necessary, it doesn't say by who. They could say, well, we don't think it's necessary. So you're going to get into a match about that. the vulgar, indecent, profane. I was sitting next to a guy the other day who had his radio on, and the stuff that was coming out of that was fit within this definition to me. But to him, obviously, it didn't, or it didn't bother him. So, I mean, that's hard to enforce something like that.
I think that I mean, we could go to the other extreme of no DJs allowed, and you basically have to
Yeah,
play
then
the
you won't have
radio, a
any
radio station.
promotional parties for it.
You won't have that at all. So I mean, that would solve that. But I think that, we were taking into account the graduation party that we had booked there, or the National Night Out, or Munster Girls Softball had their party where they're made to do some of those types of things. So, we want to allow those types of things, I think, in the
Well,
right
it's at our
setting.
discretion, I guess, so I'm just having trouble, like, if we don't want to have the parties, then you just don't give them permission. How is this? This is not that complicated.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think that if it's a promotional for-profit thing, and we say to one group, you can't do it, and we say to another, okay, then that just opens up a can of worms. That's even worse. So it's either we're gonna allow it or we're not, and if we're gonna allow it, then we're gonna have these rules. And when they break the rule, what are we gonna do? Call the police and say, shut them down? Because we determined that this is vulgar language that you're listening to, or it's too loud. I mean,
That's a big loss.
yeah, right. Then we're gonna wind up getting sued by the promoter.
I think the sound would be the
On the
one,
news.
would be enforced by the police. I don't think we necessarily would be the ones enforcing sound. I would.
Yeah, but the
suspect-
police wouldn't come unless we.
But the
we called them.
language,
Well, or a neighbor calls them if it's that loud.
Yeah.
Someone at one of the private.
It's that loud.
language is really being litigated now throughout the
Right,
country. on a lot of
right.
things. And that's, where is that language? Do they know ahead of time where that language is, what's can be said and what's not? Now, there's a lot of issues there that if they want to cause some issues, not with us. My question is, one of the things is, if you're doing it for profit, let's say you have a bowling alley or one of these places, and you're playing the radio, you have to have license rights to those. You pay for those rights in a bar or something. You just can't turn on the radio and play it for free. Now, maybe there's an exception
Well,
to a.
DJs may pay.
No, but I'm saying they're saying maybe turn on the radio. Now, maybe a town can be exempt because, we're, a town that's proud. But if someone's coming in for a business and they're using do they have to have licenses rights to play that radio?
I believe that the permit, the BMI and ASCAP, and I
Right.
can't think of the third one, but
Right.
we as a town pay for those already, and I think that
Okay, we
covers all
pay,
of our town
okay,
properties.
that covers that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's an issue.
But I think that, some of these questions though that you bring up, Dave, I think we can add in number 7 and in both number 8, as determined by the town, for those two security issues.
Anything where it's a call, a
Yeah.
judgment call, it's our
So
discretion.
I
So
think,
if we deem it vulgar, it's vulgar. If we deem it too loud, it's too loud. I mean, they don't get any say in it
But
if they want to have their for-profit
devil's
party
advocate
going
on
on.
it, Dave, is we determine it, but is it determined by law? If what we are saying what it is, this doesn't prevent a lawsuit still.
That's why I don't think it's.
And you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying to that, you just can't be the judge here and then take away somebody's.
but I think by not,
constitutional right.
by the last
But it's
item,
not
like no promoters.
Yeah.
Right, but it is a right that could be litigated in the sense that who are you to determine the language? I don't know if you could do that.
I don't know, but if it's a contract between us and them, then.
But they have to know
Under the
what's the
terms.
language. You just can't say what we determine in that.
Well,
Give them what the
we don't want to go
determination-
through the playlist to tell them beforehand.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I guess I'm worried about the situation where the rules are violated. Now what are we gonna
That's what I agree with David. Where that is, what happened.
Well, I think at that point though, by flat out saying promoter events are not allowed, really removes our problem rentals. I think that's the issue that takes care of it.
It'll discourage them from showing up.
I'm okay with saying promoter events are.
I am as well.
We don't-
It takes
they're not
care of a
allowed.
lot of things.
Right.
Takes care of every problem.
You,
We're in agreement, yay.
Yes.
So,
You can tell them.
No for
We don't
profit.
have it, we have one
It says
rule.
that on the wall.
There's no promoter, wet t-shirt contests at our pool or whatever they call it, you know? It's outrageous, it really is. This is a family pool in a town.
In
We're-
community
we-
park.
We are not a,
Community
we're not a
park.
bar. Yeah, in community park.
Didn't you say?
so are you saying to not to vacate our rules that were approved last month and just have one rule, no promoter events? Is that what I'm hearing?
No,
I
we
am.
have to have certain rules for the.
Oh, for the not-for-profits.
Yeah,
I mean, or for the,
you could have
for the birthday
birthday
party.
graduation.
Oh, yeah,
parties,
yeah,
houses,
okay, all right,
events.
yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, I think that's good. We should have rules for private property. I see what you're saying. Yeah. We should.
So-
I think you should keep the rules.
Well, I guess, you know, I lost the forest through the trees. But okay. So we're gonna have these rules maybe as
Right.
tweaked a little bit here. I'm not worried about the vulgarity anymore, or as much, but, you know, as determined by us for security and things like that. So those two things. And then we just tell people that come in that they, you know, they want to have a promoter event, say, sorry, the town doesn't allow it, or the park board doesn't allow it.
So the proposed draft that I've given you, I think I would make 3 changes based upon your conversation that you just had. The number 7 and number 8, which both refer to security, if security is warranted, I will add comma, as determined by the town, comma, to both of those sentences.
Yeah.
So we, as the town, have that, you know, approval if it's deemed necessary.
Right.
And that could be through us, that could be through the police department. So
Hopefully both, maybe.
it may
both
be
get
both,
involved.
because there have been good communications about this with.
Well, the thing is that if security is warranted, that's something that I would assume was a decision made before the event.
Yes, yes,
So the
absolutely.
police probably wouldn't
Yes.
be involved in something like that.
Well, and we
We-
also,
You're gonna keep it
we
up
also
till
will
maximum
have it
250?
that they have to reserve it a couple weeks out, because for the
Yeah.
reason of getting people scheduled, especially from the police department, so.
Well, okay, but that does bring up an issue like the night out. I mean, there's more than 250 people that
Yes.
show up for that.
However, we don't really give,
Event.
that's not a
Private
pool
rental.
party that we rent out to.
Okay.
That is a.
So is there
town-
any event other than these promotional things, promoter things, where we've had over 250? I can't believe that.
We haven't had one in-
For,
A couple years.
At least a few years.
Most of
Could
them
have a
don't even
wedding.
get 100.
Yeah. And if we did, so that now is somebody who wants to do something that our rules don't allow. I would, if they contacted me, I'd invite them to come to a park board meeting and state their
Yeah.
case here.
Right.
And then that would be the type of an event that would be planned out well in advance, so to come to a meeting and ask for that, it's not like they're coming in today and want next weekend.
Right.
for-
Yeah, I
for
mean,
meeting.
I could see some, no.
That's a lot, yeah.
I think at that point, that would allow it to come in here to say, hey, we want, you know, something that's just
Yeah,
extreme.
And if that
and-
comes up, then we'll decide it
Then
on a
we-
case by case basis.
Yes, yes.
So
So-
are we all in
We're
agreement?
limiting the 250 then for sure. The
Think so.
period.
So basically, if you approve what I presented to you, that's gonna limit it to 250. Anything more than 250 will have to come and ask for special permission. So, and then the promoter events are not allowed. We add the as determined by the town for security.
Right.
And I would even add as determined by the town, in this sentence. It would now read, all music needs to be appropriate for play in a public park, comma, as determined by the town, not be vulgar, indecent, or profane, and at a volume appropriate, no louder than background music at the pool during operational hours.
That's fine. Yeah. Now, as I understand, there is somebody that's already signed a contract with.
We have 2 this coming weekend that tomorrow I will be making, if you were to approve these, I will be making 2 phone calls that will not be received well.
All right, but do we have a contract with anybody in writing?
Those, well, we don't really do a contract for these. It's a
Okay.
permit, and a receipt of a rental of a facility. So that's something else that we have to look into in the future here is
So what-
creating it into a more of a contract form.
Are they given rules? Were they given rules?
The
Before
current
they
rules that
agree?
you adopted at the last meeting, we shared those with them and they were fine with that.
They, how we, you know.
That's why I
We
said
just
it's just
changed
need
the
to be more
rules.
restrictive. Well, and that's what we're doing here. These are becoming more restrictive than the rules you approved at the last meeting. That's why we're having.
There's no contract,
We're-
so.
Yeah, right.
There's no contract, we just take the rules we
I don't
want.
see,
Probably should get to a contractor, what do you think?
see, I'm not worried about that with the birthday party.
No,
No,
this
no.
family events
It's
are
not
fine.
an issue.
That's why I'm not against promoting. Never mind. I'm against the promotional event.
Okay,
Yes.
I think everyone here is except for maybe.
I haven't really cared.
He wants to charge for
I know,
parking.
he wants to charge.
I think we should, yes, absolutely. If you just charge them for parking, then they will not come.
Yeah, they all come in one car.
Is there anything else?
In the truck.
Let's get that company to come out and do, I'll tell you what, if that company will come, if these promoters will come and listen to a presentation from the company that you want to give us parking meters, I mean,
And they give us cricket lessons. We're good.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, motion adjourned.
Well, we need a motion to approve these drafted
Oh.
rules with
So
those
moved.
changes that
I did.
I
Moved as amended by you.
With the rules that I summarized. Jane.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll second
All right, been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark.
Thanks,
I know
everybody.
this was one of the harder meetings.
We haven't had one in a while. So we have to make up-
Yeah.
Huh?
No, we can't adjourn yet.
I think we're still recording.
We are still recording. I'm gonna bring up one more issue.
Oh,
The
yes.
next park board meeting is, August the 3rd at noon.
Okay.
I would like for us to have it here. They have a rental at the,
Pepsi's there.
Pepsi negotiations.
Pepsi could potentially be there, and they have one other one in the banquet
Well,
hall,
that's
so.
great. I'd rather
We
get
would
kicked
move it
out.
here.
The tacos will be brought.
Yeah.
Can we have it at the pool? Is the pool still open at that time?
It is.
Will the
We
tacos
should. I
come
want to
here?
go see what they, why people can understand swim trunks.
Where we can get the tacos?
I'll bring them to you. That's my suggestion.
There we go.
We go to the swimming pool.
So here,
All right,
I'll have to sunshine it.
okay.
okay. All right, so we need a motion. Actually,
That's your.
move to adjourn
Second.
and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Here.
One opposed.